PlayStation 5 has been out for 8 months and it's still nearly impossible to buy in stores, with scalpers and bots buying up all the available stock as soon as it's listed online. Prices online have reached crazy highs, with consoles regularly going for more than $1,000. I was lucky enough to get a PlayStation 5 at launch, and it's been a great console. Graphics are awesome, and a lot of games can run in 4K at 30 to 60 frames per second. Ray tracing is being implemented into more and more games, and it looks great. If you do get a chance to buy a PS5 at retail price, I think you'll be really pleased with the price to performance ratio. With the situation going on and so many people unable to get a PlayStation 5, I wanted to try an experiment and see if Google Stadia really is a viable option for next-gen gaming. Stadia launched in November of 2019, a full year before the PS5, and was touted by Google to be the next generation of cloud gaming. One where you don't need a console with high upfront costs, and you can still game in 4K at 60 frames per second in HDR. This was, of course, met with a lot of skepticism, as past cloud gaming companies have underdelivered and overpromised. OnLive comes to mind if you remember that. Google sent me a Stadia Premier Edition about 6 months ago, and I never actually got around to trying it out. This edition costs $100 and comes with a controller, a Chromecast Ultra, with a plug and a charging cable and charging brick. The controller feels nice in the hand and compares in size to the current Xbox and PlayStation controllers. It's a little less curved and contoured than those two and not quite as ergonomic, but not uncomfortable at all. They also sell 2 other color controllers that look pretty sharp. Note that you can use both Xbox and PlayStation controllers on Stadia if you don't want to buy Google's controller. You're not locked in. The power adapter also has an Ethernet port if your Wi-Fi isn't great, which is pretty cool. Stadia offers a free service and a pro service for $10 a month. When the service first launched, they weren't very clear on this and there was a lot of confusion as to what was included with what, but it's cleared up a little bit now. The free edition lets you play games you buy through the service at up to 1080p and stereo sound. The Pro edition for $10 a month gives you a rotating selection of games to play, like games with gold from Xbox, and offers up to 4K at 60 frames per second in HDR and 5.1 surround sound, and of course you can still buy games. Now I say up to because in my testing, some of the games aren't offered in 4K, and the Chromecast you'll likely be using doesn't support 5.1 surround sound, at least it didn't on my TV. I couldn't get it to work. Also note that to use the free service, you're required to sign up for a free trial of Stadia Pro, which means entering your credit card information. Just make sure to cancel it before the trial is up if you don't want to continue and pay. Let's talk about game selection. The games pretty much make or break a console, and Stadia's offering isn't very strong yet. There were 26 games included that you can claim with a Pro membership that I counted. These will change each month as they rotate new games in and out. I never played most of these games before, and there certainly wasn't any new AAA titles included, but they weren't terrible offerings either. Games are also for sale in the store, and I counted over 100 on offer, which is a decent but not huge selection. Major companies such as EA, Ubisoft, and Capcom are all there, but the prices, they're too high. For essentially digital cloud games that you don't actually own and could lose if Google decides to abandon the service down the road, they're asking too much. I know digital is more popular right now than ever, but there's a bit of assurance when you purchase a digital game from the PlayStation Store knowing it will be there in the future. The Stadia Pro subscription did offer some decent discounts on games, but free users can't take advantage of that. It also hurts to lose all the exclusives other platforms offer. Stadia has a few exclusives here, but they're mostly indie titles. I will say that streaming was smooth in the games I played with decent controller latency. I've only had 2 to 3 freezes while playing and never had a hard crash. Now this will vary greatly with your internet speed, and those with data caps should really watch carefully, but I have about 100 megabits per second speed and gameplay was pretty smooth. Data usage could be an issue if you have internet data caps. Stadia says that playing a game in 4K could use up to 20 gigabytes of data per hour, and that's a lot. One bad thing to note is that you have to add games to your account through your phone or your PC, since the Chromecast doesn't really have an operating system or a user interface. It's a little dated and doesn't really feel modern like other systems. The system is touted as plug and play, but it's a little more technical. I had to download the Google Home app, connect to the Chromecast, then download the Stadia app, and then I could start playing. It took a while to get everything set up. You can play across multiple devices such as the Chromecast, the new Chromecast with Google TV, which I also tested on, select Android TVs, your PC, your Android or iPhone, or your tablet. It's pretty cool to jump around, but not something you would probably actually do since you still need a controller, so you can't grab a quick game during your lunch break at work unless you take your controller with you. There's no option for an on-screen button layout similar to what PlayStation offers on their mobile app and xCloud offers. Most of these also require you to play through an internet browser, which is not ideal, but not terrible. So let's sum it up with some pros and cons. On the pro side, no upfront console costs, so you save $500 right out of the gate. You can use existing controllers. You can play on multiple devices. A free tier is offered, so no monthly cost is an option. You get good gaming performance depending on your internet speeds. What are the cons? It has a relatively clunky setup, which took a little while. Definitely not plug and play. A small selection of games will hold you back. Large data usage is possible with data caps on internet providers these days. It doesn't work without the internet, so if your internet's down, you can't just turn it on and play. We don't know long term if Google's actually going to stick with this, as they've been known to abandoning a lot of programs in the past. If you have slow internet speeds, which Google asks for a minimum of 10 megabits per second for the lowest setting, you might have bad gaming performance. Unless you pay the $10 a month for the Pro package, you're limited to 1080p and no surround sound. Also note, Stadia is not available in every country, so it might not be available in yours. I think in this case, cloud gaming is still a little out of reach for the average user. It's been touted for years as the future of gaming, but no one has been able to nail down the right combination of game selections and features. Stadia would have been so much better if they'd offered an Xbox Game Pass-like collection of games for a monthly fee. They could have even sold a small set-top streamer with an OS installed like a Fire Stick in place of the Chromecast Ultra. That would have made it really plug and play. The service is good and surprised me with how steady the performance was, especially from when it launched, but it's not ready to take the place of your home console yet. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.